And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for Tuesday morning, looking like this. Again, a lot of IFR out here over just about all of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Breaking out a little here along the Alaska Peninsula, but some IFR extending into the southwest here a little bit. And marginal VFR up across Norton Sound, southern Seward Peninsula. Otherwise, VFR, Arctic coast, right on down until you get to the Alaska Range. We've got some IFR here for tomorrow morning along the Talkeetnas into the southern and eastern slopes of the Alaska Range there with the Copper River Basin. VFR, areas of IFR for the North Gulf Coast as well as the Panhandle. And for the afternoon, pretty good IFR here in the Gulf of Alaska. And not quite up to the coastline there, except over Yakutat and then down along the coast of the Panhandle. VFR, Copper River Basin, Susitna Valley, most of the Kenai Peninsula, and the northern Kuskokwim Valley, all the way up into the Arctic Ocean there. Some IFR, maybe for Cape Lisburne, Point Hope. Otherwise, marginal VFR for the Seward Peninsula. Across the southwest interior with solid IFR for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and into southern Kodiak Island, and maybe even northward there to Chiniak Marmot Bay area. And then for the Wednesday morning time, mostly IFR now for Kodiak Island, solid IFR in the Gulf of Alaska into the Panhandle, solid IFR for the Bering Sea down to the Aleutians, and most of the Alaska Peninsula, and again sliding up across Togiak Bay into the southwest mountainous terrain there. But the interior, VFR, all the way up to the Arctic coast again. And then for the afternoon Wednesday, IFR retreats here, diminishes, mostly marginal now for the Panhandle. Still IFR here, Elfin Cove on up in toward Yakutat, and then southwestward to the east side of Kodiak Island there. But Kenai Peninsula, most of south central Alaska, and at least a portion of Prince William Sound should become VFR. And that nice condition extends all the way again into the Arctic Ocean. And IFR holds out over the Bering Sea, pulling just off the coast here of Nunivak Island, but still covering the Pribilofs and areas of the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula. And for passes for the Brooks Range tomorrow, both Anatuvik and Atigun will be open. VFR, either approach on both passes, and most of the Brooks Range as well. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR trending toward IFR on these eastern approaches in the afternoon. And from rainy, marginal VFR, especially on the eastern entrance. And for windy, should be VFR for the day Tuesday, as well as Isabel and Mentasta, VFR, Tanita, VFR, Portage, marginal VFR. And for Chilkoot and White, occasional IFR. For the freezing levels here out over the Bering Sea, running pretty warm there, anywhere from 10 to as high as 14,000 feet. They're over the southwest portions. Otherwise, 10,000 feet here over the interior and 6,000 feet off the southeast coast. And for icing, some moisture here with that area of rainfall here, bringing possibly some considerable moderate rime icing to southwest Kodiak Island. Otherwise, areas of isolated moderate possible here from the lower Yukon River Delta, or Valley and Delta there, all the way down into Bristol Bay. And possibly with that weak system off the southeast coast there could be some elevated icing threats in that shaded area as well. Moving on to the jet stream, upper level high pressure here over the northeast interior to the Arctic coast. And then a low here near Nunivak Island, northerly flow up to 95 knots there across the eastern Bering Sea, all the way down to the eastern Aleutians. And then 90 knot winds on the east side of this low center off the Prince of Wales Island coastline there, but that strongest wind max into Canada, and then higher pressure out farther to the west. 9,000 foot winds, again low pressure now at this elevation, roughly off the southwest coast, south to southeast winds here, up to 55 knots there across the northwest part of the state. Lighter northerlies, 35 knots over the Aleutians there, and pretty light winds under high pressure over the eastern interior from the Arctic coast here right on down into the Gulf of Alaska. Light winds at 3,000 feet for the southeast coast. or 9,000 feet, I should say. Well, 3,000 feet as well, looking pretty light and variable there into the Gulf of Alaska and much of the interior. South winds, south-southeasterlies, as high as 50 knots here around Kamishak Bay, and lighter winds from the southeast at about 30 to 35 knots up here across the Seward Peninsula and along the Chukchi Sea coastline there. Low pressure again near Nunivak Island, north winds on the west side of that, 35 knots sweeping down across Atka Island. And for turbulence, with another system farther to the west, look for increasing turbulence for the Shimei Attu area. Otherwise, the main area here will be over the southwest part of the state, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, the Aleutian Range into the Kuskokwim Delta, maybe southern Kuskokwim Valley. Look for considerable moderate turbulence there with light to isolated moderate up across the Seward Peninsula and the northwest coast.